What is up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am Dr. Jasmine over at themomspsychologist.com, and I am coming back to you guys with another Ask Jasmine. So if you are currently struggling with seeing eye to eye with your partner with regards to parenting, I just want to start off by saying you are not alone. I think this is literally a universal issue or challenge, I should say, that parents go through because it's impossible to see eye to eye on everything, especially something as big as parenting, and our parenting views are going to differ, especially as our little ones grow and they're come across different challenges, different ages and stages. So in this video, I'm going to share some helpful things that I think will be important to keep in mind as you navigate co-parenting, whether you are co-parenting with your spouse or co-parenting with your ex-partner. So let's just get into it. Okay, so a couple things actually before we get into the video. One, don't forget to download my Positive Parenting Checklist bundle. It includes what to do and what to say during the most challenging parenting moments like tantrums and aggression. You can go ahead to forward that bundle to your partner and give them some ideas. The link will be in the description if you want to check it out. Okay, so here's the question that I received. How do I deal with my significant other telling me that I don't tell him what to do or how to enforce punishment to our almost 3-year-old when he gets hit in the face because he's annoying our toddler? By the time he sees our son, we are all tired and ready for bed. I try to tell him of what I learned from you and other professionals to talk to our son, that it's not right to hit people, etc. He tells me he will do it his way because I'm babying our son when I'm actually learning methods to educate my son. Help. It's a constant argument that I don't tell him what to do. So I want to start off by saying, Mom, I sympathize with you in this issue. I know, again, like I said, how challenging this can feel when you're constantly butting heads at your partner and you feel like they're actually attacking you when you're trying to, do the right thing or learn as much as you can about positive parenting practices. And I know, in general, when we are on this path of change or when we are on this path of growth or learning something new, our first kind of thing that we try to do is get everybody else that we know on board, because we know how awesome it can be. We know the positive outcomes that can happen. We are happy, we are seeing positive changes, and we want everybody that we love to be on board. And I want to start off by saying that unfortunately we can't control anybody. And the more that we try to control people, our spouses, our children, our family, and our friends, and anybody, right, in general, the more that we try to control people, actually, the more distance that grows between us and the less influence we have over them. So I want to start off by saying our goal here is not to control the other partner or to make them change before they are ready, okay? What we do have control over is how we parent, what we learn, what we implement, and all we can do is hope that the other parent sees all those positive changes, sees how your child is responding differently to you versus them, and then get on board. I think that is where our influence comes, is by modeling what we're learning and keeping a positive attitude, and keeping an attitude of like, I'm not trying to control you here. I'm just trying to share with you what I'm learning and show you actually in the moment what it looks like and the benefits. I think that's where people get on board, is when they see the benefits of what you're doing and it just sort of clicks or makes more sense. Okay, I don't have to struggle over here and do it this way. If I do it this way, I get better results. Okay, I should try that next time. So similarly to what I would suggest if we were up against a struggle or a challenge with our little one, the same goes with our spouse. I would lead with connection. So I would try to understand first first where he's coming from, why he's saying the things that he is saying. And so starting with having some open communication about the ways in which he was parented, and how that might be influencing his beliefs and his parenting practices today. Because what often happens is we tend to repeat what we have learned from our caregivers unless we are super intentional about doing things differently. So some good questions to ask and to explore and to communicate around is, how was your attachment with your caregivers? Did you feel connected with them, or did you feel disconnected? Did they play often with you, or were they often detached? How did they handle your mistakes or your challenges? Did they meet you with anger and aggression, or did they lead the way and teach you a different way? How did your caregivers discipline you? What was the general atmosphere of the home in which you grew up with? These are all great questions for you, one, to explore within yourself and communicate with your partner, but also to ask them, and in a way of I want to get to know you more. I want to open this up. I want to open up this communication. I want to understand you better. And then you can take it a step further by leading with identifying their strengths. I know it's so easy to focus on what's not going right and what you want to change, but actually, I know it sounds counterproductive, but if we lead with focusing on our partner's strengths, we're going to be more fruitful, right? We're going to see more positive changes. So what is he doing right? What are some things that you really admire about him as a dad? Is it his connection with his son, how he plays with him, how he loves on him, how he works very hard to provide for the family? What are your spouse's strengths, and how can you communicate that to them? So, thanks for listening, or thanks for hearing me out. Thanks for always being here for us. I love how you XYZ, or I know how much you care for our little ones. That I don't take for granted. So really leading with some positive affirmations, really identifying and being very specific about what you like and what his strengths are. And then during that conversation, you want to identify 2 or 3 tops, non-negotiables that you guys both agree on. So whether that's health and safety, or respect, or education and homework, or chores, identify some things that you both have common ground on, and what your plan of action is when your child displays those behaviors, right? So when they're disrespectful and are aggressive or calling you names, for example, what are you guys both going to do consistently? Because that is the most important thing, is to try to get on some common ground of how you guys both plan to respond in those situations. So you'll want to, come up with a plan together of how you're going to set expectations and limits and consequences around those themes. And again, just start with 2, 3 max in terms of non-negotiables that you both can agree on, because this is going to set you guys up for success, right? If you guys can both find some common ground about a couple things, it can get the ball rolling, right? And so during these conversations overall, you want to lead with sharing your feelings, your experiences, and being very careful not to put any blame on them, right? So you want to use a lot of I statements and lead with sharing and being open and vulnerable about how this conflict and this disconnect is affecting you and how you want to problem solve it in the future. The other important thing to do during these conversations is to share your needs and make very specific requests. So for example, you could say, I need for us to be a united front in front of our son. Can you back me up when I set limits? Can you be by my side? That's a very active that's a very active request that's very specific. And also, avoid overall undermining your children in front of your spouse, because, rarely things are emergencies, right? And they rarely need to be handled in the heat of the moment. And so focus on having these conversations away from the children when everybody is calm, they're rested. So not at the end of the day, ideally, maybe it's at lunch or during a nap on a weekend where you guys can sit down and have a fruitful conversation when everybody is at a good place. So hold off on making any criticisms, any remarks about their parenting in the heat of the moment. What you can do during those moments is offer to help them instead. So you can say, I can step in if you need to take a break, if things are getting heated, right? So, try as much as possible to present as a united front and model that. So model that for not only your spouse, but also for your child. Because if you undermine your spouse in front of your child, they're going to be less likely to listen or respect that caregiver. And then it's just going to lead to a whole host of other problems that you don't want to have. Okay. So as much as possible, focus on handling your disagreements and communicating when the little ones are away. Because again, a lot of this is not an emergency and it doesn't need to be handled in the heat of the moment. And so, I talked a lot in this video about the conversations that you can have. I really think, especially if this is an ongoing issue, that you should have at least weekly check-ins, schedule them in if possible, so that you guys are making a regular point to check in with each other, communicate, lead with connection, lead by trying to understand his background or her background and trying to, get or elicit their feelings in this experience, right? Get them to share, their challenges and their struggles in parenting and try to find some common ground. Yeah, I struggle with that too. Oh man, I don't know what to do in that situation either. And then my biggest tip for parents is to learn positive parenting information together. That is a great way to learn and then get on the same page, right? Because after you learn, after you watch a class or watch a video or read a book, you guys can then come together and be like, okay, well, what did you agree with? What didn't you agree with? What applies to us? What doesn't apply? What's our plan of action? And again, identifying those non-negotiables together and then coming up with a plan. So learning positive parenting is together, I think, is one of the biggest hacks. So that's why I always encourage parents to, schedule when I do my parent coaching or my therapy, like both parents ideally should be present so that they can ask questions, they can hear the information together. And of course, at the end, you guys will be on the same page to then come together and collaborate on what is going to work best for your family. And of course, don't forget the power of modeling, okay? Again, we don't have control over anybody in this world, especially not our spouse or our children, right? All we can do is hope to influence them in a positive direction. And the best way to influence is to lead by example and show them the power and the results that you're getting in your new parenting approach. I hope this video was helpful. If you would like to submit a question to me for a chance to be answered in my next YouTube video, I will include the form below. And also, don't forget to check out my Positive Parenting Checklist bundle. It includes 13 checklists full of information on what to do and say during the most challenging, parenting moments. So the link will be in the description. And again, just, forward that to them. Say, oh, what are your thoughts on that? I came across this little bit of information. What do you think about that? This can spark a nice little discussion there. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel to join the family, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.